Welcome back to the Photography Clips podcast. Most of us learn photography the way you would expect. We take more pictures. We watch tutorials. We read about exposure, lenses, editing, and composition. We study the work of photographers we admire, and we pick up tips from friends who shoot too. That is all useful, and it should stay in the mix. Still, there is a bigger classroom available that can quietly make your photography stronger, and it is the rest of the art world. Photography did not invent light, shape, color, or storytelling. Painters, sculptors, architects, filmmakers, designers, and illustrators have been solving the same visual problems for a very long time. They have wrestled with the same questions you wrestle with when you raise a camera to your eye. Where should the light come from? What should be sharp and what should be soft? What should be included and what should be left out? How do you make a subject look strong, calm, tense, joyful, or lonely? When you study those fields, you start seeing a common language, and you start making better choices on purpose. Oil painting is one of the best teachers of light because painters have to create light from nothing. They decide where it comes from, how it falls, how hard it is, how it wraps around a face, and how it changes when it hits cloth, skin, metal, glass, or stone. They decide what will glow and what will sink into shadow. When you spend time looking at paintings, you also start noticing that light has a job beyond making the scene visible. Light creates depth. Light decides mood. Light decides importance. A bright highlight on a cheekbone can pull your eye like a magnet. A shadow placed carefully can hide distractions and keep a scene quiet. A soft edge can make something feel gentle. A sharp edge can feel intense. Once you start noticing those choices in paintings, you begin noticing them in your own work, especially when you are shooting portraits, still life setups, indoor scenes, or anything where you can control the light even a little. Sculpture teaches you to see form. A good sculpture has to hold attention with shape, proportion, gesture, and surface. There is no pretty sunset doing the work for it. When you study sculpture, you start thinking about your subjects as solid objects with planes and curves, not flat outlines. That matters in photography because light reads differently on every plane. A face is not one surface. It is a set of surfaces: forehead, cheeks, nose, jawline, and each one catches light in its own way. When you understand form, you can place light with more care, and you can also pose people in ways that feel natural and strong. Sculpture also sharpens your eye for texture. Marble feels different than wood. Rough stone feels different than polished stone. Metal can feel cold and sharp, or warm and worn. When you pay attention to surface texture in sculpture, you get better at building texture contrast inside a photograph. Rough next to smooth, matte next to glossy, soft next to hard. Even a simple subject can look richer when the textures are working together instead of fighting each other. Japanese Edo period prints and paintings are a great lesson in design choices and personal style. Many of those works are bold, simplified, and clean. Shapes are strong, lines are deliberate. Open space is used on purpose, not because the artist ran out of things to add. That can change how a photographer frames a scene. You start asking, what can I remove so the subject is clear? What can I simplify so the viewer understands the picture faster? You also start seeing how style is built through repeated decisions. Those artists often had a look you could recognize quickly because they were consistent with their choices about shape, tone, and composition. That is a useful reminder for photographers because style is not a single trick you discover one day. It is the result of choices you repeat over time. The kind of light you like, how you frame, what you leave out, the subjects you keep returning to, and the tones you prefer when you edit. Studying artists with strong style helps you notice what choices you're already making, then decide which ones you want to make more often. Film is another powerful teacher because every shot is built to guide attention and mood. Directors and cinematographers design a frame the way a photographer does, but they do it thousands of times in a single movie. That means you can learn quickly just by watching carefully. A wide shot can make a person look small in the world. A tight shot can feel personal, tense, or intense. A low angle can make a subject feel strong. A high angle can make a person feel exposed. Even where the subject sits in the frame matters. Push someone toward the edge, and the scene can feel uneasy. Center them, and it can feel steady. Film also teaches perspective in a very practical way because the camera is always making choices across the shoulder, down low, top down, far away, close up. When you carry those ideas back into photography, you start moving your feet more. You start asking, what happens if I shoot this from lower? What happens if I back up and give it space? What happens if I come in close and let the background disappear? Film also shows lighting and color temperature as storytelling tools. A scene lit with cool, dim light often feels tense or sad. Warm light can feel safe, welcoming, or nostalgic. Some movies keep a consistent palette from beginning to end to hold the mood steady. That is a strong lesson for still photography, because the color of light is part of the message. It changes how the viewer feels, even when they cannot explain why. Architecture and graphic design are two more art forms that photographers can learn from, and they do not get talked about as often. Architecture trains your eye for structure. It teaches balance, symmetry, leading lines, and how repeating patterns can feel pleasing. It also teaches you how negative space works when it is done on purpose. Graphic design teaches clarity. A designer has to communicate fast. They have to lead the eye, keep the viewer from getting lost, and make the message obvious. When you borrow that mindset, your photography gets cleaner. You stop cramming everything into the frame. You start making room for the subject to breathe. You also get better at choosing backgrounds because you realize the background is not behind the subject, it is part of the subject's presentation. The practical question is how to study all this without turning it into homework. You do not need to become an expert in every art form, you just need a simple habit that trains your eye. Pick one artwork, one painting, one sculpture, one print, one movie scene, one poster, and spend a few minutes with it. Notice where the light is coming from. Notice how the frame guides the eye. Notice what mood the choices create. Then grab one small idea and try it in your own photography this week. You might try a single direction of light in a portrait. You might simplify a composition by removing one distracting element. You might place a subject against a cleaner background. You might try a lower angle in a scene that you would normally shoot at eye level. Small tests like that add up quickly because they train your eye to recognize strong decisions everywhere you look. That is the real value of studying other art forms. You start seeing with more intention. You start noticing why an image works, not only that it works. Then when you pick up your camera, you have more tools available. You have more ways to solve visual problems. You have more ways to tell the story you want to tell. So, if you ever feel stuck or flat with photography, do not only look for the answer inside photography. Walk through a museum, even online, study a painting for the light, study a sculpture for the shape, study a print for the simplicity, study a film scene for framing and mood, then come back to your camera and try one small idea. Over time, your eye gets sharper, your choices get cleaner, and your work gets stronger because you are learning from a world that has been building visual skill for a very long time. Thanks so much for listening to the Photography Clips podcast. I'm your host, Will Moneymaker. If you liked today's episode, feel free to share it with a fellow photography enthusiast. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what's ahead. You can also visit willmoneymaker.com to explore more of my photography and thoughts behind the lens.